And so the long night broke. And then a blade flickered through the night.
おいおい、合いびきならもう少し色気のある場所を選んだ方がいいんじゃねえか。
またお前たちか。田舎の犬は目端だけは聞くと見える。
それはこちらのセリフだ。
Harada! Saito-san! My legs almost collapsed as if the now shattered tension was the only thing keeping me standing. I teetered backwards, my balance momentarily lost. A strong hand caught me and pulled me back, its grip hard as steel.
下がってろ。
Hijikata-san. One hand guided me around him as the other drew his sword.
将軍の首でも取りに来たかと思えば、こんなガキ一人に一体何の用だ。
将軍の貴様らも今はどうでもいい。これは我ら鬼の問題だ。
鬼だと。
His eyes narrowed. Hijikata-san seemed perplexed by Kazuma's statement, as if contemplating the possibility of its truth.
こいつの面を拝むのは金門の変以来だな。
腐れんってとこか。大して嬉しくもねえがな。
再会という意味でもこちらも同じくだ。だが
我々の邪魔立てをするつもりですか。ならば。
The tension was so thick in the air that I could scarcely breathe. They were a power keg ready to explode. Even the slightest movement could set them off. It wasn't like I could do much. But still I wanted to help them, so I grabbed my sword.
副長たちの心配は無用だ。
Yamazaki? What did you...
副長の命だ。君はこのまま俺が屯所まで連れて行く。
Then you're telling me to run away?
その通りだ。君がここにいてもできることは何もない。
I mean, he may be right, but Stay! I'm going to stay here.
雪村か。君は状況を理解していない。ここに残って何ができる。
I don't know what staying here might... I know that staying here might not be the smartest idea, but... They called me a demon and told me to come with them. I still didn't know what they meant. I needed to know the truth.
君にも譲れない理由があるのだろうな。だが、それは俺も同じこと。副長の命を遂行する。それが俺にとって己を貫くということだ。
What? Yamazaki reached for my arm, ready to take me with him by force, but... The gun Shiranui held was pointed towards Yamazaki.
へいへい待てって。お姫さんはここに残るっつってんだろ。振られたのに邪魔してんじゃねえよ。
With his spear, Harada tried to pierce Shiranui in the heart, but... Shiranui easily dodged his attack, his strike.
時に拙速は高知に勝りますが、知らぬいの手の速さも考えものですね。
そういうあんたも止めなかったようだが。
Saito-san and Amagiri maneuvered nearly into striking distance of one another. Saito-san drew his sword and attempted to strike at Amagiri.
甘い。
Amagiri saw through his movements instantly and dodged the incoming blade.
くそ、なんなんだこいつら。
Ichikata-san screamed, his voice filled with frustration. What do we do? We cried for backup. I wasn't helping at all. I was utterly useless in a fight and I knew it. What could I do then? There was only one thing. Yamazaki, we should go fight Kondo-san. Just when I screamed that,
これ以上よそ者を立ち入らせるつもりはありません。
Amagiri stared at me. Then suddenly,
待て、貴様の相手はこの俺だ。
Saito-san's hand clasped the hilt of his sword as he walked slowly before Amagiri.
下がっている雪村。奴らの目的はあんただ。そこから動くな。
I responded, Got it. わかった。I took a few steps back.
それでいい。あとは任せろ。
聞いてはいただけませんか。金門の時と同様、私には君と戦う理由がない。
あいにくだが、俺にはあんたと戦う理由がある。
His voice was low and controlled, but I thought I sensed a current of tension beneath it. Saito-san then moved slowly to interdict Amagiri's approach. Was he protecting me?
あくまで邪魔をするつもりですか。いいでしょう。
The giant man flexed his hands, settling into a crouched stance. Saito-san's hand tightened on his sword. For several long moments, neither of them moved. The air was thick with barely contained intensity, and the ground could tear asunder, swallowing us. Seconds felt like hours as the two opponents regarded one another. A shadow drifted across the moon, and the street briefly darkened. There was a blur of movement. When light returned, Saito-san and Amagiri stood some distance apart, backs to one another, as if they met for a single blow and continued forward. I had no idea what had just happened. Their moves were just too fast to keep up with. A breath of wind stirred my hair.
今ので仕留めるつもりだったのですが、ね。
お互い様だ。
Neither man looked the least bit surprised or concerned that his intended death blow was avoided. Saito-san's eyes narrowed to piercing blue slits as he turned to face his opponent. Amagiri turned as well, matching Saito's intensity. They stood like that for a moment, until Amagiri's glare softened. He didn't leave his fighting stance, but his arms dropped to his sides. I stood as still as I could. Both men stepped back, their fight clearly finished.
これ以上の戦いは無意味ですな。長引いて今日が乗っても困るでしょう。
それ、俺様への当てつけか？こう見えても引き際はここ。
Anyway, just give me this because it's not on the same.
だが、
The answer is yes, please. As always, it's yes, please. Yamazaki, please get the good doctor of Matsumoto-sensei. These two leave, and I'm worried about Okita. What were Okita and Matsumoto-sensei doing? Was Okita going to talk to the doctor about his cough? He was coughing an awful lot lately, now that I thought about it. Was he alright? I decided to follow them. Unfortunately, I waited too long, and by the time I made my way outside, they were gone. I think they went this way.
おや、雪村君、誰かを探しているんですか？
Shimada, have you seen Okita and the doctor?
沖田君たちなら中庭の方に行ったようですが。
Thank you.
急ぎすぎて転ばないよう気をつけてください。それでは、俺はこれで。
Goodbye. I saw him walk off, and it got me to thinking. The courtyard. Should I try and catch up? Or should I go around the back and reach the courtyard before they did? Apparently it's go around. I ducked to the narrow path that ran around the back, and soon I found myself at the courtyard. I hid myself in the shadows, waiting. Okita and the doctor appeared only moments after I hid silently.
結論から言おう。お前さんの病は老害だ。
For just a second, my heart stopped. A shiver ran down my spine, and suddenly I felt very, very cold.
なんだ、やっぱりあの有名な死病ですか。
Okita's.
でも面と向かって言われるとさすがに困ったな。
老害の一番の薬は西洋だ。新選組は離れて精のつくものを食べてゆっくり体を休めなきゃいかん。
それはできません。
そうせんと体は悪くなるばかりだぞ。今はそうやって平気なふりができても、いずれ布団から起き上がることすらできなくなる。
じゃあその時までここにいますよ。血を吐きながらそれでも刀を取ります。
なぜそれほどまでここにいたいんだね。
僕は新選組の剣ですから、ここにいることが僕の全てなんです。新選組の前に立ちふさがる敵を切る。ただそれだけなんですよ。
お前さんの覚悟は分かった。
Okita sounded cheery, but I was listening in a state of shock. Okita is going to die? I felt like I wanted to faint, but I stayed strong and remained standing.
先生、近藤さんたちには言わないでくださいよ。約束ですからね。
まあ、どうしても言えないことってのはあるだろうな。私もあの子に打ち明けていないことがあるんだ。行動さんが上位派の過激浪士連中と行動を共にしてるかもしれんなんてな。とてもじゃないが伝えられんよ。
The news of Okita's illness had me so scattered. I almost cried out at this new piece of intelligence. My father, working with nationalists? There was suddenly someone behind me. A hand slipped over my mouth before I could react, and a freezing sensation made my spine shiver.
静かにしていろ。
It was a calm, cool voice that I'd heard many times before, although never from quite so close. Saito-san? My body relaxed. The body behind me was Saito-san, not some anonymous assailant.
そのまま動くな。掃除は気配に悟い。
I nodded my head as much as I dared. His hand over my mouth made me too nervous to breathe. Saito-san's presence next to me was silent and sharp, like a blade in the night. It seemed like hours passed before Okita and Matsumoto-sensei finally left.
斉藤さんの起点がなければ危ないところでした。
You were here too! You too. Shit. Yamazaki! How long was he? No, Something told me that would be a foolish question. He was probably watching the whole time. Gomene. If you hadn't stopped me, Saito-san, I probably would have given myself away.
いや、俺の方こそぶしつけな真似をしてしまってすまなかった。掃除に気づかれずに済んだのはあんたのおかげだ。礼を言う。
No, not at all. There was the briefest hint of a smile in his eyes as he spoke, and then it disappeared.
それで、掃除のことだが、先ほど話していた病の件に関しては、聞かなかったことにしてくれ。
He wasn't asking me to keep my mouth shut per se, but rather to forget what I'd seen and heard had ever happened. But why?
あの方が病に倒れるとなれば、内外に与える影響が大きすぎます。それに、老師たちが勢いづくだけでなく、局長や副長にもご心配をかけるでしょうから。
He was right. Even I could understand that. But I couldn't forget the sight of Okita smiling. Even with the seriousness of this news.
病に関しては我々が対処する。あんたが気にすべきことではない。
But
関わるなと言っているのだ。いいな。
at the end of the day, I was still only a guest. This sad reminder resurfaced once more. I may live among the Shinsengumi, but I wasn't one of them. Saito-san's words made that very clear. Suddenly I felt cold, as if a cold gust of wind blew through me, draining all of the heat from my body. I was all alone. From then on, Matsumoto-sensei, we can skip this. He came to visit many times.